Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mantine, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I am very excited to bring you guys the first team builder for Season 7 of the GBA. I am super excited to get this started. If you did not watch my draft analysis, definitely check that out. That is on my channel as well. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. But regardless, this week we are going up against CrimsonCbad, coach of the Detroit Steel Wings. Definitely check him out in the description below if you have not already. He is a fantastic guy, and he is making his debut his return to the GBA. He was in a couple seasons before this, and he ended up leaving in order to focus on some other things, but now he is back, which is really, really cool. So like I said, definitely check him out in the description below. His team will be popping up on screen now, and the team that he has drafted consists of Tornadus Therian, Sylveon, Entei, Crocodile, Slowking, Serena, Kyurem, that's regular Kyurem, Cobalion, Skuntank, Magneton, and Oricorio, and he gets all forms of Oricorio, which makes it actually a little bit threatening to me. That being said, however, his team at first glance doesn't look like it has anything super threatening, like super big top tier Pokemon other than maybe Tornadus Therian. But when you put it all together, it actually forms a pretty solid team. Like, he's got the Entei, Slowking, Serena as a Fire, Water, Grass, which is actually really nice because all of them can be offensive and all of them are relatively bulky, particularly the Slowking as well as the Serena. Both of those have recovery as well. He's got hazards in Crocodile and Cobalion. He's got trapping in Magneton. He's got a lot of good offense. Like Crocodile, Entei, Sylveon, Tornadus, Kyurem. Yeah, pretty much everything on his team can be offensive. So like nothing on his team is passive whatsoever, and that's going to be a little bit difficult to deal with. He's got a decent wall core as well with like Sylveon and Tornadus being able to pivot around those two. Both of them can gain momentum with either U-turn or baton pass. Even Cobalion can volt switch out, Serena can U-turn out. So he's got a lot going for him with this team. It may not look amazing on paper, but he definitely has a lot of options and a lot of threatening things towards me and my team. That being said, I did put together a team of 6 that I believe will be good enough to take on whatever team of 6 he decides to bring. So with that being said, let us get into the team. Starting off, we're going to be running our Alolan Golem, Explosion, Stone Edge, Earthquake, and Stealth Rock. Max speed, max attack. The max speed is primarily for whatever he wants to do with the Serena. Like, if he has a little bit of speed on Serena, I can still outspeed it. He needs a decent amount of investment in order to outspeed me if I'm Jolly Max Speed. And if he's running like a fully defensive set to take on my Greninja or my Mantine or anything like that, he will not be able to outspeed me, and I can hit him with a Stone Edge before he's able to hit me with a Drop Kick. Also, this was originally meant to be a suicide lead, and it still kind of is, because as you can see, we have Sturdy here, and I originally had Custap Berry in this slot instead of the Chople Berry, but after I finished my team, I went back and I realized that Custap Berry is actually non-released. You can technically use it on Wi-Fi if you gen your Pokemon, like I do, like a bad boy, but I'm not going to be able to use it because, like I said, it is technically unreleased, and I wouldn't be able to get it in-game legitimately in any way, so I didn't want to use that. That being said, I'm still using this as a pseudo-suicide lead. The Chople Berry is just kind of nice to deal with, like a Focus Blast from Tornadus, or like a Crocodile superpower if he ends up going for that for whatever reason. Close Combat from Cobalion. Any type of fighting type attack that he wants to go for, I will be able to take with this thing, even if my Sturdy is broken at some point, which is very, very nice. So Alolan Golem's really only job is to just get up Stealth Rock, because other than that, it doesn't have too much offensive value versus his team. I can take a hit from the Entei and hit it with the Stone Edge, but if he burns me, I can't knock it out. It can knock out the Tornadus, but if he has Focus Blast or HP Ground or something like that, I won't be able to do too well versus it, unless I still have my Chople Berry intact and there's like a Focus Blast coming my way. Even the Magneton can outspeed me, hit me with the Flash Cannon. I thought about running like a trapping set with this thing, like a Magnapulse set, but I didn't think that was worth it. Magneton still does a ton of damage to me anyway, and if he has Magnet Rives or if he's on a balloon, then I can't really do anything versus it anyway. So again, this thing's main job is just to get up Stealth Rock, and I'm going to do my best to keep him off the field because he has a few notable Stealth Rock weaknesses, including his Tornadus, his Entei, as well as his Kyurem. Those are the big ones, as well as Oricorio, but the other ones on his team that I mentioned are the really big threats to my team. And I do have ways of pressuring his hazard removal, which is very, very nice. So, with that being said, that's the Alolan Golem. Again, not too much to go into here. The next member of our team is going to be Captain Ginyu the Greninja, holding the Life Orb, Rash Nature, which is really nice, going to be able to put out as much damage as physically possible, Hydro Pump, Dark Pulse, Ice Beam, and Gunk Shot. Relatively safe coverage versus his team, however, this coverage really deals a ton of damage to whatever he wants to bring. Like Hydro Pump, Life Orb, Hydro Pump, easily 2 AKOs, AV Tornadus after Stealth Rock. Hydro Pump plus Gunk Shot will be able to 2-KO Sylveon. 2 Gunk Shots will also be able to 2-KO Sylveon. Hydro Pump is able to knock out the Entei, it knocks out the Crocodile. Dark Pulse can 2-KO Slowking unless he's a very specially defensive, like Assault Vest Slowking. Ice Beam will be able to do 2-KO most Serena. If he's fully specially defensive, I may not be able to, which is also why Gunk Shot is nice, because I'll be able to 2-KO Serena then. He also has the Kyurem, which I can 2-KO with Dark Pulse, assuming he's not bulky or Assault Vest. I can 2-KO the Cobalion with Hydro Pump, which is really nice. Can 2-KO the Skuntank with Hydro Pump. I can 2-KO or OHKO the Magneton, depending on what he is, and I can OHKO the Oricorio with Ice Beam, which is really, really nice, or a Torrent boosted Hydro Pump. So this is a very, very big threat to his team. And what's really nice about this is the only thing he has to outspeed me naturally is the Tornado Styrian. And if I am able to get a paralysis off on that thing with the Mind you'll see later on, or if I'm able to just get rid of that thing, then Greninja will be able to knock it out, or Greninja will be able to sweep through the rest of his team potentially, as long as I weaken the threats that I need to weaken. So again, relatively standard spread, but this set puts in a lot of work versus his team. I didn't need to do anything fancy. I considered putting Water Shuriken on this thing so that I can, just mainly for the priority, because I didn't really need Ice Beam as much, even though I still want it. But I decided that these four moves were actually a little bit more important, because they just tear through his team very, very nicely. And the 60 EVs in attack guarantee me a 2-KO on even physically defensive Sylveon. So this is the Greninja set that I decided to bring. Again, relatively standard, but it does put in a lot of work versus his team, and I'm really looking forward to using this thing. Because if I can eliminate any Scarfers or eliminate his Torn T, then this thing will be able to outspeed everything and possibly pick up a few kills versus Chase. So with that being said, that's a Greninja, like I said, relatively standard. However, the next Pokemon we're going to go into is an even bigger threat to his team, I believe, and that is going to be a Choice Scarf Buzzwole with Superpower, Leech Life, Stone Edge, and Poison Jab. So if you look at his roster, he really does not appreciate switching into this thing at all. Like, we have Stone Edge to hit the Tornadus, we have Poison Jab to hit the Sylveon, we have Stone Edge for the Entei, we have Leech Life and Superpower for the Croak, Leech Life for the Slowking, Leech Life for the Serena, Superpower for the Kyurem. I can go down the list, and these 4 moves will be able to OHKO or 2-KO every single thing on Chase's team, which is really, really nice, which is a big reason I'm running Scarf, because as soon as I get rid of the Torn T or get rid of the Sylveon, Superpower is actually very spammable across his team, because he's not going to ever want to switch into a Slowking on me, because I can hit him with the very powerful Leech Life. And even the things that he can switch into Superpower, I have other covered for. Like, if he goes into Torn T trying to take the Superpower and I hit him with the Stone Edge, he's going to be very unhappy. Same thing with the Sylveon. If he switches into that thing expecting the Superpower and I hit him with the Poison Jab, that's going to be really unfortunate for him, because then he's going to be forced to recover up later on, and I do have switch-ins to punish Sylveon if he does decide to go for the Wish. Buzzwole is just a gigantic threat for his team. With this speed investment that I have, I will be able to outspeed everything on his team that is not Choice Scarf. I will also be able to outspeed a Choice Scarf Magneton, which is really, really nice, as well as pretty much anything else that he wants to bring. Like, if he decides to bring like a Choice Scarf Sylveon for whatever reason, I'll be able to outspeed that thing and hit it with a Poison Jab. I can outspeed a Max Speed Non-Scarf Entei, be able to hit that thing with a Stone Edge and knock it out after Rocks. Same thing with Torn T. I do believe I outspeed Torn T with this. If I do not, which I will double check after this, I will go back and do the math and make sure that I can outspeed it, but I'm pretty sure this does. This is just a gigantic threat versus his team. It's so strong versus his team. It 2-KOs or OHKOs the entirety of it. It can switch into the Crocodile happily. Like, it takes Earthquakes and knockoffs like absolutely no problem. It can take a Sacred Fire from Entei if I need it to. It's just crazy bulky. I obviously have to be careful of random hidden power flyings as well as special attacks, but we'll deal with that when we get there. For now, this is going to be the Choice Scarf. This is going to be the set of Buzzwole that I'm going to be bringing. It is a gigantic threat to his team. It has big arms, it's super threatening, and I'm really looking forward to using it this game. So with that being said, these 3 Pokemon have all been relatively standard, but they're standard for a reason, because they do really, really well against Crimson, I feel. The next set that I'm going to show you guys is a little bit more unique, I suppose. It's something that I played around with for a little while until I found the right set, and I think this is the perfect set to bring versus Crimson. Here, as you can see, we have our Jirachi, Iron Head, Hidden Power Ground, Thunder Wave, and Substitute, holding the leftovers with an interesting EV spread here. Not super crazy EV spread, but 216 speed with the Jolly Nature. That is enough to outspeed a timid max speed Kyurem, which is very nice. I'll be able to hit that thing with an Iron Head before he's able to hit me with an Earth Power, which is very nice. Then we have max HP, just because I wanted this thing to be as bulky as possible. And then we have 40 Spadef just because I had 40 extra EVs and I wanted to put them in Spadef so that I can take on things like Torntee's Heat Wave a little bit better, I can take on Sylveon's Hyper Voice a little bit better, I can take on the Magneton a little bit better, the Oricorio, things like that, which is very nice. We're holding the leftovers, we're thinking about running Colbur Berry for the Crocodile, but I decided I'm running Substitute. I want to be able to get that HP back with the leftovers, and because I'm running Sub, even if he does send in his Crocodile and has Pursuit or something like that, if I'm behind a Sub, I can just freely switch out anyway. Even though I wouldn't necessarily want to waste a Sub, I can if I have to. The move coverage on this thing is really, really nice for his team. I'm hitting everything neutrally or super effective, which is kind of nice. Iron Head and Hidden Power Ground. HP Ground is largely for the Cobalion as well as the Magneton. If he's not a Violate, I have a chance to knock out the Magneton, I believe, after a little bit of damage. And then if he is a Violate, I still will be able to hit him with the Hidden Power Ground after a couple. And if he is a Violate, I outspeed him guaranteed because he won't be Choice Scarfed, and he will not be able to do too much damage to me because he is not running a Boost Day item like Specs or Life Orb or anything like that. So I should be able to beat that thing 1v1, even if he has me trapped in, I can deal with him. So it's kind of this Jirachi is kind of a lore in a sense. Also, obviously, we have Iron Head because it's Iron Head on a Jirachi. It's going to flinch things down. It's going to hit things like the Sylveon very hard, as well as deal with the Kyurem, which is very nice. Thunder Wave is also very important. Thunder Wave, if I can paralyze things like the Tornadus T, that would be really, really good, because then my Greninja would be able to outspeed everything on his team that is not Choice Scarfed. I can also paralyze things like the Cobalion, in case he's like a Rock Polish Cobalion. I'll be able to outspeed him with like my Scarf Buzzwole or something like that, even if he gets up to +2. Also, of course, being able to paralyze things is just always really good in general because it's Thunder Wave, and even though it was nerfed, you can still absolutely lose a game by getting full paired in a row. I've done that. It's happened to me a couple times, it's happened to some other people. Thunder Wave is still really, really solid, and you still can win games just because of it. Especially paired with Jirachi, these two just go hand in hand really well. If I have to paraflinch things down, then I will paraflinch things down. Even though that's not necessarily my intent at this moment, it could become my intent later if that's the only way I have to win. But that being said, Thunder Wave's main job is to slow down things like the Tornteed so that I can deal with them with my other threats. If he sends in his Entei and I'm behind a Sub and I know Iron Head is not going to be doing a lot of damage and even HP Ground is not going to be doing a lot of damage, I can go for a Thunder Wave on that thing, make it so that my Mantine can outspeed it. And what that'll allow me to do is Roost before he goes for Stone Edge, which means that I'll be taking those Stone Edges neutrally, which is really, really nice. And then, of course, as you can see, we have a Jolly Nature, even though we have Hidden Power Ground, and that's just because I didn't want to be weaker on either of my defenses, and Hidden Power Ground does enough damage to the things I needed to do damage to anyway, so it's not really my biggest concern. And Substitute is on there because I get a free sub versus a few things. Like if he's out with his Serena, I can freely go for a Substitute. I should be able to outspeed him unless he's Choice Scarf, which would be kind of weird. He cannot lower my attack with a Drop Kick if he goes for it. A U-turn will not be able to break my sub. Also, if I'm behind a Sub, if I go for Sub and his Serena's in and he goes for a U-turn and tries to send in something like his Entei or his Magneton to deal me, or even like his Tornadus to deal with me with Heat Wave or Knockoff, I have ways to punish that, whether that be attacking it with Hidden Power Ground or Iron Head, or by paralyzing it with Thunder Wave. So Jirachi is just really, really nice in this matchup. The moveset that I came up with, I'm very proud of. It will be able to be a gigantic nuisance to his team. The only thing it doesn't really deal with too well with on his team would be the Slowking. But that being said, I deal with his Slowking actually very, very well with my my Golem, my Buzzwole up here, even my Greninja, as well as the other two Pokemon are kind of meant to deal with it as well. So I'm not too afraid of Slowking. That being said, that is our Jirachi. Hope you guys like the nickname. I know I went over that in my draft analysis, but yeah, we'll never forget that moment. But that's our Jirachi set. Really proud of this thing. Let's move on, however, to our Mantine. And this is also a very, very important Pokemon. I was debating this or Miltank, but I decided to go with this because it takes on the Entei relatively well, bar Stone Edge, and it's actually really, really useful for his special attackers, which kind of make up the majority of his team. Just to get you an idea of what this spread can do, 252 HP, 220 Calm Nature, Specs Draco Meteor from regular Kyurem does between 50 and 60% to this thing, which means that no matter what, it's not going to be able to 2-KO me. Unless he crits me with one of them, he will not be able to 2-KO my Mantine. Even after rocks, I have a chance of not being 2-KO'd by Specs Draco Meteor, which is absolutely insane. And he has to hit them both too as well. But that being said, Mantine is just super good versus his team. It completely walls the Tornadus. It can switch into the Sylveon, it can switch into Entei's Sacred Fire. Obviously I don't want to take a Stone Edge, but the only way he can OHKO me with Stone Edge from full is if he's banded, and if he is banded I'll be able to find that out, and that'll be good information to have. It can even kind of take on the Crocodile, assuming it doesn't have Stone Edge. It beats the Slowking 1v1 easily. Like, obviously he can poison me, but I have ways around that, and I can poison him as well, and I do have Protect to kind of stall things out a little bit, and we'll get into why I have Protect a little bit later on. Serena can't really do much to me, even though I can't really do much to it other than Toxicing it. Cobalion has to get to +2 in order to knock me out with Stone Edge. Volt Switch is going to be doing absolutely nothing to me. Skuntank can't touch me. Magneton obviously is a big threat to me, but unless he is the electric form of Oricorio, that's also not going to be able to touch me. So this is actually a gigantic problem for his team, and this is a big reason why I wanted it over Miltank. Miltank was very nice because it can switch into Entei, it could heal Bell off status onto some of my things, like if he burnt my Jirachi or my Zygarde or even like my Greninja or something like that, and I wanted to get rid of status, I can do that with my Miltank, but Mantine is just way too good against his team. Like, it's just so fat, and I love that they gave this thing Roost this generation because it makes it just so good for my team, and it makes it just so good in general. Like, Scald Toxic is all I really needed, and I have Protect there, mainly just because if he is Specs with his Kyurem, and he does go for a Draco Meteor onto me with Rock Stuff, I will be able to Protect to get some leftovers back, and then have a much better chance at living a second Draco Meteor, which is very nice. Also, it allows me, like, if he goes for Sacred Fire as I switch into Mantine, I can then Protect and see if he is not choiced, and he's able to go for Stone Edge in the following turn, so it's there as well for some scouting. And also it's there because Toxic plus Protect is just a gross combination. You can Toxic, rack up a little damage, Protect, rack up more damage, and then switch or go for an attack accordingly. It's just, Mantine is just so good this game. The only real thing on his team that directly, like, immediately threatens it is going to be the Magneton, because obviously it OHKOs me with electric moves. That being said, that is a big reason why we have our next Pokemon here in Zygarde. So we're running an interesting spread here. And an interesting, not really an interesting moveset, I'm sure people have seen this before, but we have a leftover Zygarde, 1000 Arrows, Coil, Rest, Sleep, Talk. Rest, Sleep, Talk is not only there just to give myself recovery, as well as possibly set up and win late game, but also because I'm not running Miltank, I don't Mantine, and because I'm running Specially Defensive, and because Entei gets Stone Edge, I don't really have the most reliable of Entei switching, so that's going to be this thing. Even if I get burnt, I'll be able to rest it off later on, and go for Sleep Talk, and possibly get up Coils or 1000 Arrows off onto my opponents. The EV spread on this thing, I have 252 speed Jolly, that's so that I can, at worst, speed tie with the Kyurem. That way I'll be able to get up a couple Coils and then knock it out with 1000 Arrows after I get a little bit of damage off onto it. The 64 HP is just to deal with some of his threats a little bit better, like some of his physical threats a little bit better. Like, I can deal with the Serena relatively well, I can switch into and take 2 of anything the Crocodile wants to do, unless it's like Banded Earthquake. Can take on the Cobalion a little bit better, as well as just dealing with the Entei a little bit better. Like, even though I do resist, Banded Sacred Fire can still hurt, so I have the 64 HP there, just to kind of help me with that. And then we have 192 in Spadef. I wanted to be more Spadef with this thing because he does, of course, have the Magneton. I want to be able to switch into whatever that thing can do. Also, because I have Coil, I'm going to be boosting my physical defense anyway. I wanted to make sure that I was bulky enough on the special side to accommodate for any of his Pokemon that want to attack me there when I'm boosting their Coils. So I can take like an HP Ice from Magneton, assuming it's not Specs, which is very, very nice. I can take a few hits from a few different things, which is also very, like, I can take an HP Ice from the Torn T if I want to. I can take on a Hyper Voice from a Sylveon that is not Specs, which is very nice. I can obviously take on the Slowking unless he has Ice Beam, and even then Ice Beam isn't going to guaranteed OHKO me. I actually don't think Ice Beam can OHKO me at all unless he's like Life Orb or Specs or anything along those lines. And Oricorio can't knock me out with anything as well. So this is just a very nice Pokemon for his team. Amon, I expect to possibly be able to clean up late game, because the speed that it has also is very nice. Like, I can outspeed Crocodile and hit that thing with 1000 Arrows. Granted, he can drop my attack with Intimidate, but unless he has like some weird Serena set, I can just set up all over that thing. That's the really good thing about Zygarde. Like, the fact that it is just so bulky and you can hit anything on your opponent's side with 1000 Arrows, I can just set up on a lot of different things and possibly win. Like, if it's Zygarde versus Entei, I will be able to set up on that thing. Unless it is Sylveon or something with ice coverage on his team, or his Kyurem. Like, unless it is Kyurem or Sylveon or something else with ice coverage, I will be able to set up on them and beat them with this Zygarde set, and that is really, really good. of this Pokemon. So that's going to be the team. I'm definitely looking forward to play Crimson, really looking forward to getting to the GBA with my own team. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think of the team in the comment section below. Like I said, definitely check out my good buddy CrimsonCbad in the description below. And with that being said, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you in the match.